Hello everyone and welcome to Black Ops 3 for Dummies. In this video we'll be covering Uplink, and a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that Uplink is Call of Duty Basketball, but that's actually not true. Uplink is Call of Duty Slam Ball.
Jamal Barnes and the Bouncers put the hurt on the hombres.
Sandy Fletcher with the spin move. Beats one, beats two, beats three. The feed to Barnes behind the back, and he throws it down reverse.
The basics are quite simple. You score by getting the satellite drone through the uplink goal. If you carry it through the goal, you score 2 points. If you throw it through the goal, you score 1 point. In the event of a tie, you will go to overtime, and each team will try to score. When one team does score, let's say they score in 1 minute, then the spawns will flip and you'll start over, and the team that did not score will have 1 minute to score. If they can score in a minute, they win. If not, the first team to score in overtime wins. Now, if you are the ball carrier, you do not get to use your gun. You are carrying the ball. Your only choices to kill people are to smack them with the ball using melee, or throw the ball away, pull out your gun, and kill them. One common strategy to use in this situation when you're too far away to melee somebody is to throw the ball to that person. That will cause them to put their gun away, and you can then shoot them as long as you can kill them before they throw the ball back at you, or before they run at you and smack you. You also get added armor when you're the ball carrier so that you can absorb more bullets without dying. And when trying to score on a throw, the ball does not travel on a line drive. It is more of a lob motion. Think of it as more of a grenade throw than a bullet. The ball will also bounce off the ground, so it's possible to throw it over a building and have it bounce up into the goal, things like that. And in order for it to count as a score, it barely needs to touch the goal. It doesn't have to go through the center or anything like that. As long as the edge of the ball is touching the edge of the goal, you will score. Keep in mind you can also pass the ball to a teammate using L2, so if you see somebody on your screen who is in a better position to score than you are, or maybe in position to score 2 points, whereas you would only score 1 point, you can pass the ball to that person and help your team out a little bit more. Now, the strategies of uplink are pretty simple. When you're on defense, you do not want to try and defend your goal, because once the enemy knows where you're defending your goal from, it becomes very easy to simply find a spot to throw the ball where they can get to the goal, but you can't stop them. Or because of the added health that they get for carrying the ball, it's possible that they could dunk it and you just can't kill them in time. It's actually pretty difficult to simply defend the actual goal itself. So what you want to do for defense is, rather than controlling the goal, you want to control where the ball spawns. You want somebody either overlooking the ball or a couple people patrolling around the ball, making sure that your team is the one that gets to pick up the ball and advance it towards their side. Now, if they do end up getting the ball and getting past you towards your goal, but you kill them, what you want to do is just grab the ball and throw it out of bounds. That will send it back to the center of the map or the original ball spawn point. And more importantly, it'll get the ball away from your goal, because if you get the ball at your goal and then you try and run to the other side and you end up dying, then there's nobody between them and your goal, and they're probably closer to your goal anyway. So it's better just to throw the ball out of bounds and start the play over again, rather than potentially giving them a free goal. Now, 9 times out of 10, going back to that, you'll notice that the team that wins the uplink game is the team that most effectively controls the ball's spawn point. So I just want to go back and reiterate how important it is not to control the ball and not to defend your goal, but rather control the center of the map or the room that the ball spawns in. That is the key to winning uplink. Now, when you're on offense, whether you're the ball carrier or you're protecting the ball carrier, it is very important not to allow the ball carrier to try and run towards the goal himself. Way too often in these games, we'll have somebody who's playing by themselves, or just a random, who says, "Ooh, there's the ball, I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to rush their goal, and I'm going to be a superhero," and all that happens is he immediately dies, and then the other team has the ball, or the other team throws the ball out of bounds, and the entire time that he had the ball was wasted. So it's very important, again, don't pick up the ball unless you have a defender ready to watch your back. Don't try and run the ball yourself. You're not going to make it. And even if you do make it, you got lucky rather than you're a hero that's so good at the game. Now, if you are playing by yourself, or even if you're not, if you pick up the ball and there's nobody around you, it's better to go to a close quarters area where you can effectively melee people and just wait until teammates come to you. You know, use game chat, let them know you need help, and just wait till they come to you rather than trying to advance the ball yourself. Advancing the ball with a single person carrying the ball and nobody watching his back is a surefire way to feed the other team points. Either a score streak points because they get an easy kill, or even, you know, giving them the ball and then they take it and score. It's a really bad idea. You don't want to do that. Now, if you are forced to try and score the ball yourself, the best idea is to go ahead and throw the ball down to the other side of the sideline, and then you'll have your weapon ready that allows you to move the ball without actually having the ball in your hands, meaning that you can still defend yourself against the enemy. But this is a last resort. This is not a good strategy, and it's always better, unless you're at the tail end of the game and you have to score in a hurry, it's always better to wait until you have a bodyguard watching your back so that you can have some kind of defense when you come across their goalie and their defenders. Now, when it comes to class setups in Uplink, they're really just non-specific. There's nothing in Uplink that is like, oh, that's such a great thing to have. Each member of the team may have one or two things that are fairly important, but nothing really game-breaking if you don't have it. The couple of tips I will give you for the goalie, or the guy guarding the spawn point, not the goal again, the guy guarding the spawn point, you want to keep in mind what map you're on, because, for example, if you're on evac, the ball spawns in the broken glass building next to the water, and that's a fairly close quarters area, so something like the VMP or the CUDA would be really good for guarding that spawn point. But then in Aquarium, which is what this game plays on, the ball spawns in the center room where B flag is. You know, that's a fairly long sightline type of spawn, so you want something with more mid-range and accuracy, something like the Razorback or the HVK-30, something like that. In Infection, the ball spawns again where B flag is at, in the very center of the map, where you have to watch out for the window of the house or the window of the church, and you really want something with long range. You could even go with a sniper rifle or an LMG if you're going to guard that spawn point. So it's really map specific. Just use the weapon that you're most comfortable with at the ranges that you're going to be at, and you have to just think about where the ball is going to be spawning and what kind of sight lines you're going to be looking at. Now, for the defenders, you want to use an SMG, first of all, because the ball carrier is going to be moving at 100% movement speed, and you need to be able to keep up. So if you're using an assault rifle, which moves at 95% movement speed, you're either going to hold up the ball carrier or the ball carrier is going to run away from you. Either way, it's bad for you. So, again, you want to use an SMG, and you want to think about the engagements you're going to be in. You don't really want to use something like the Vesper, for example, or the Weevil, because those are not good at all ranges. You want something that's going to be more of a good at most ranges SMG. You know, the CUDA and the VMP are probably the two best SMGs for this game mode, because they're so good up close, but they're also good at medium, and even in some cases, if you're able to handle the recoil, longer ranges. And so those are the ones you really want to use if you're the defender. If you're the ball carrier, the one perk you want to use is fast hands, because you want to be able to throw the ball. If you get into a head-to-head gunfight, you want to be able to throw the ball to the defender and get your weapon up at the ready as fast as possible, and having fast hands makes that happen much quicker. The ball carrier is also the guy who might be able to make use of something like the Vesper or even a shotgun, because you're going to, first of all, you're going to want to stay in fairly close quarter situations anyway, because you want to be able to melee whenever possible. And if you're just barely outside of melee range, then using the shotgun or a Vesper, or a really fast time to kill close quarters weapon is probably best anyway. And if you run into somebody at mid to long range, hopefully, if you're taking my advice, you have a bodyguard who is more than capable of taking out somebody at those ranges. Now, when it comes to specialists, each of your different roles is going to have a different, optimal specialist. So your defender wants to use something good for defense, something like the Hive is good as long as he can stay alive long enough for it to really be effective. Things like that. The defender would actually be pretty good with combat focus, because he's going to be the one most likely to string together kills without dying, and combat focus allows you to get higher score streaks. So if your defender is someone who's really good at getting score streaks, then that would be a really good specialist for him to be using. Now, as far as the defender of the ball, we'll call him a bodyguard from here on out. As far as the bodyguard is concerned, weapons are good for the bodyguard. You want to, the purifier would be pretty good. The scythe would be a good one. The annihilator, the war machine, pretty much any of the weapons would be good, except for you don't want to use like gravity spikes if you're in arena mode, because you have friendly fire and you'd kill your ball carrier if you gravity spikes with him nearby. There's really not a wrong specialist to use if you're the bodyguard, but those are the best ones. Focus on the weapons, and really anything with any sort of decent range would be good. And for the ball carrier, you want to use things that you can use while carrying the ball. So I would avoid overdrive, simply because if you use overdrive, you'll be running past all of your defenders. So, and, you'll be moving fast, but you'll still be moving unprotected into the enemy spawn. Probably the best one for the ball carrier is kinetic armor, because you get added armor from carrying the ball already, and then you throw on kinetic armor on top of that. You are very, very hard to kill, and it takes a lot of shots to take you down if you do that. And one of the hidden ones that I don't know if a lot of people think about, but I find to be fairly useful, is Vision Pulse. What Vision Pulse will do is it'll show you where the bad guys are, so you can find the best path to take without running into them, and make yourself just really hard, not just to hit, but to find. And so that's one that if you really understand the maps, you know where every route is, and you're good at the game, Vision Pulse is a really good one to use. And for your score streaks, you want to focus on score streaks that are really good for defense. The Guardian, the Cerberus, the Sentry Turret, things like that are really the best score streaks to use. Some of the lesser ones you might think about using the UAV, but what you really want to avoid is things that you have to control. You don't want to use the HCXD, for example, because what it does is it takes you out of the game and you're driving around the HCXD. So if you're the goalie trying to defend the ball and you're using an HCXD, you're not really watching the ball, unless you're watching the ball with the HCXD, in which case you run the risk of blowing yourself up, or you run the risk of not being able to adequately defend the ball against multiple targets coming from different directions. Or if you're the bodyguard using the HCXD, you might be able to blow up one person in the ball carrier's path, but then if there's another person in the ball carrier's path, you're not there to take that person out as well. And of course, if you're the ball carrier, then you can't use the HCXD with the ball in your hands, and you're not helping your team. So anything that requires you to control it is not a good score streak to use. So focus on things that are stationary or automated that will help defend your goal. You don't really need score streaks to help you go after the goal. One thing I will say, though, is someone should have a talent. Like, if your ball carrier is good enough to be the ball carrier and get enough points to get a talent, it would be really handy to have an automated bodyguard following you around. In that case, you actually could score on your own without having to worry about enemies killing you, because you have this, automated sentry turret following you around, which is really nice. Now, to be perfectly honest, I don't really have any advice for bans and protects. Everything is pretty generic. Everything is pretty personal preference, really. So there's nothing that absolutely must be taken out of the game to keep it fair and balanced. There's nothing that absolutely must be kept in the game. So just, do whatever you want to do with bans and protects. So thanks for listening and watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this was helpful for you in some way. Don't forget to check back in for future Black Ops 3 for Dummies videos, and be sure to check out my previous Black Ops 3 for Dummies videos. Don't forget to subscribe, and goodbye.